Just a quick note before we get started. On the podcast today, I talked to my friend Vela. We go deep into enemy territory on this one, literally. Vela was a Vietnam veteran. He has a lot to say about that. He talks about war and some graphic battle scenes. If that might trigger you and you'd rather not get triggered, skip this one. Also, you may or may not agree with what he has to say. Consider you have not walked in his shoes, in the jungle, with a gun. Having said all of that, this two-part episode is the most demonstrative interview of what it means to create a love operating system, despite having lived through actual hell that I have ever had the privilege of conducting. I saved it for the first episode of the new year because the theme for January on Lunacy is reinvention. Vela's story for me defines reinvention. From an innocent young man to a battle-beaten veteran, to an angry, wounded adult, to a man at peace. Vela shows what it means to reinvent oneself through meditation and prayer, and most prominently, through the gate of reconciliation. Reconciliation with the past in a personal, ceremonial way, in communion with those he harmed. And finally, Vela demonstrates reinvention in being recognized and accepted as an elder, revered in a way that allows him to live and act as a man of wisdom, demonstrating what it means to live from the heart. This episode was recorded November 12th, 2023. Here we go. I am Jeff Ado. This is Lunacy, where we discern the sacred from the insane and admit that whether we like it or not, we are all profoundly affected by the cycles of the moon. My guest today is Vela Giri. He is a Vietnam veteran. He is an elder in our community. He is also the head of his own nonprofit, which is called Soldier's Heart of the Ozarks. And he is a wise and beautiful human being. And he is also my brother. Super excited to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's good to be here.
Thanks for coming. Yeah. Vela and I just got done doing the adventure that I aforementioned, the primal presence thing that we went to. And we just literally today returned from that experience and completed it this morning. And this podcast, I'm releasing it later, but we recorded it the day after I returned. And wow, man, what an amazing trip that was, right?
It was really quite something.
Yeah.
With a small group of men, and we really bonded out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Fasting for 4 days and really getting real.
Yeah. Yeah, stripping away all the bullshit and detoxifying, and we did combo, and man, it was intense. We don't have to give you the gory details, all right? We'll spare you those. But suffice it to say, we really dug in deep. We really tested ourselves and pushed ourselves, and I think came back all the stronger for it.
Absolutely.
So I want to start with asking you about your experience in Vietnam. What was that like for you? And tell us just a little bit of your journey there, getting drafted and then, going into the Army and then being overseas in Vietnam and how that affected you.
Right. I can get into that. I'd like to give a disclaimer to begin with.
Sure.
Is that in 2012, well after, 1970, whatever year around those years when I was in Vietnam, that's when I was diagnosed with PTSD. I never knew that I had a problem, and went through that whole ordeal. I opened that up and went through it, and Veterans Administration, VA, awarded me with 100% disability for having PTSD. Mm-hmm. But I am totally functional. It's like my retirement, my gift. So they take care of me, full medical, everything. But my disclaimer is that according to the consensus reality, I'm insane.
Yeah, nice. That's good. You're on the right program.
Hey.
I only talk to lunatics.
All right.
So it's a good thing that the fucking government thinks you won. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nice to actually have somebody who's actually been diagnosed an actual fucking lunatic.
There we go.
Program. Good. Welcome, Vela.
Thank you. So you don't have to take everything I say seriously, but I am not going to exaggerate or lie. I'm going to tell you the truth. Some of this shit is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Did that really happen? Yes, it actually happened.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's beautiful. Good. I'm glad you're breaking the ceiling on the actual lunatic thing. Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So let's get into it. So you're 18 years old. You get drafted.
Actually, I was 20 by then.
You were 20.
Yeah.
And what year is this?
1969.
Okay, 1969. That which was the peak of the war.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. And so what happens? So you get they pull your card. They call you up. They say.
Yeah. So I got drafted.
Uh-huh.
They pulled my number. I was working in a factory, and I was politically uneducated completely. I was a young, very, very naive young man who never looked at, I couldn't define democracy or communism. I really couldn't. But that's what the war was said to be all about. So they drafted me, and I didn't resist. I didn't really like working in a factory after a couple of years, and it was like, well, fuck, I'll go. I'm not going to fight it because I don't know. I even know what's going on. I know there's a war, but it sounds like exciting time. Whatever. I didn't fight it.
And where were you?
I was in Minneapolis, living in Minneapolis, or actually I was probably living in White Bear Lake, north of the Twin Cities of Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, you betcha. Yeah, up there in Minnesota.
Yeah,
you don't talk like you're from Minnesota.
No.
Don't you know? I don't know why you don't.
Well, it sounds like you're from there, man.
Well, I do sound like that because sometimes I am from there, just south of there in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's true.
So you're just living the dream there in Minneapolis,
Yeah.
and they call you up and say, hey,
A
why don't
fucking
you come
nightmare.
fight for us?
Yeah, and they took me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a naive young man. And so I went, they push us through basic training, they brainwash you. They have a really thorough system of brainwashing, which isn't very difficult when you get people that young. They have a good system. They know how to do that. March you for 5 hours or 5 miles every day and push you through all kinds of shit and yell in your face. And, you're singing, I'm going to kill the Viet Cong. I'm going to Vietnam and kill the Viet Cong, da, 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 da. But the whole thing works. By the time you get out of there, you want to go kill people. And it's like, kill who? Who are these people? What is this about? Yeah. It doesn't matter. You've trained me to want to kill these people. So the basic training, advanced infantry training, because they put me in the infantry. And then I looked around and I said, well, fuck, I'm going to war, man. Look around these guys, man. There's a bunch of kids around me. Being 20 years old, a lot of these guys are 18. And I thought, shit, I'm more together than these other people. I want a better class. So I joined the paratroopers.
Mm-hmm.
To move up a bit and hopefully get in a better class of human beings that could protect me. So then I became a paratrooper, So I would train in jumping out of airplanes and stuff like, doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you get better pay anyway, so it was a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I did get probably in a better class of people, a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they sent you to Vietnam. And, we had no fucking idea what we're getting into. And you want me to go ahead with, yeah.
Yeah, just give us a little taste of kind of what your experience was like there. You don't have to give all the details, but just at least some general stuff.
Yeah, maybe. So basically, what we did was go into the jungle with a group of men it began with company size, which is like, up to 100 people. Then they figured out, well, that's not working to move around with that many people. So then they broke it down, and so eventually they got more efficient. So we would only be a platoon going around searching for camps of Viet Congs in the jungles.
How many people are in a platoon? Is it
somewhere around 20 or something like that? You got you might have a captain. You certainly have a lieutenant. and a couple of sergeants,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest are just enlisted men, And you just either cut through the jungle, straight up, draw a line or a compass line and cut through the jungles. That's what we did at first, which is absolutely stupid, because all you do is chop through the jungle all day and anybody could hear you coming and you're not going to find anybody. Or then eventually you walk whatever trails you find, you walk on the trails and look for people, look for camps. And we go up into the mountains and through very, very deep jungles, triple canopy jungles, which are really wonderful environment to be in, actually. Like
in terms of the beauty of the canopy of the rainforest there?
Yeah, triple canopy means like a nice forest that we have here. If it lasted long enough, you'd have other trees that would stand above those trees. That's a double canopy, very rare to find. But the primeval forest is a triple canopy. I don't know how old, but very, very old.
Yeah.
A third layer of trees stands above the other two layers, and there's not one bit of direct sunlight that gets through there. And so there's no brush on the ground. It's wide open with massive trunks of trees as big as redwoods. You're in a cathedral. It's absolutely wonderful.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Of course, the United States destroyed most of that with Agent Orange. They fly over the helicopters and spray everything, poison all the troops and poison all the people, and
Agent Orange didn't kill the trees, did it? That was more like napalm, was it?
No, it killed the trees. It's a chemical, and it has dioxin in it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And that's the motherfucker that even to this day, it's a multi-generation. You can't get it out of the ground, the food, the water, and everything. So there's horrible deformations of birth defects, still going on.
I have seen.
And of course, our men got lots of cancer and stuff from that too.
Sure. I'm surprised you didn't get it.
Well, I actually didn't get directly sprayed on that.
Okay.
I was lucky that way.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were not.
So you're hiking through these triple canopy rainforests, which are beautiful, but then also probably terrifying, I imagine.
Yeah, so, walking trails, looking for people, and we'd go up and up and up. We'd find stream beds and then walk up the stream beds and sometimes we'd find camps. Mm-hmm. The Viet Cong were camped up there. But the problem, then what we could do is put an ambush on the trail. So hide in the side of the trail, and this is not all triple canopy. There's most of it is brushy woods or whatever, and with lots of cover. So you could hide in there, and you could set up ambushes for when they walk the trails. We'd ambush them,
Mm-hmm.
But they would do the same to us. So it was a cat and mouse game going either way, one way or the other. So some days we'd kill them, and some days they'd kill us, and that's what it was all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's very terrifying. There's a lot of terrifying times. I tell you, the first day they dropped me in was fucking insane because, I have no idea what's going on. They drop you in with a helicopter. The helicopter just skims over the ground, 15 feet up, you jump out and crash on the ground, and then you run and find your guys. And then you're sitting there, okay, what's going on? Well, you see that, they say, see down in the valley, they're shooting down there. You can see that. It's getting dark. You can see the flares and the shooting. Well, that's a battle they're having down there. And they're probably they're going to come up the mountains. The enemy will come up the mountains to get away. And we're going to get them when they come up here. If they come up our side, we'll be here to ambush them and stuff. So nighttime's coming. The guys say, okay, here, now we're going to pull guard. So the guy's talking, and first guy said, so I'm going to pull guard first. And I'm going, okay. And then the next guy is going to pull guard second. The next guy third, the next guy fourth. And they come to me, that kind of order. Okay, you're going to be the next guy. And then you wake up the next guy, this guy over here. Okay, that's simple. Okay, we take turns. Everybody pulls an hour. And let's light up a spliff and get high. And I'm going, what the fuck? Wait a minute now. No, I don't want to do that, man. shit, here? Are you kidding? No, you got to smoke this. They forced me to smoke,
Wow.
And I was not used to getting high, period.
Uh-huh.
Got really ripped, and it's like, oh, fuck. I am so terrified. So, that's what we're doing for guard 1, guard 2, guard 3, or whatever, So one guy pulls guard, and then he says, okay, to me, your turn to pull guard. Now remember, you wake that guy up. Well, these guys are so fucking stoned, they're not going to wake up. So here I am, this recruit, stoned out of my mind, terrified, all fucking night long pulling guard because these guys won't wake up because they're too stoned. And this goes on every fucking night until you get used to it.
Yeah.
You get used to being high 24/7. And every battle, every day I was there, just about, I was totally stoned.
Wow. That's insane.
Marijuana is not peace and love. We used it to amplify everything and to numb ourselves to the horror that we were perpetrating and participating in. So no matter what happened, how much blood I saw, what kind of horror, didn't bother me at all. At all.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny because I didn't realize, I knew drugs were a thing in Vietnam during the war, but I guess I didn't realize it was that prevalent. I wonder, did people source it from Vietnam? Was it sent from the States? People packed it in, or
no. The Vietnamese grew it.
Oh, okay. The Vietnamese,
and they were very happy. When we went to get resupplied, there was always people here and there that they were happy to sell it to us. And of course, what they thought is, let's fuck up the GIs, and they're an easy target, which is pretty true. I knew one unit that was a couple miles away from us, same size as us, doing the same fucking thing. They probably all quit, passed out or, stoned out, didn't watch shit. They're there in a circle. The Viet Cong were spying on them. Those guys are all asleep. They just come up and drop grenades on everybody and killed. All we heard in the morning was grenade sounds. Whole bunch of grenade sound. Everybody got killed,
Wow.
So, and so we weren't very good soldiers, to tell you the truth. There was a real lack of, basically just stupid behavior.
Yeah.
Stoned out.
And lack of morale, obviously.
Lack of morale. That's what I'm looking for.
Because you didn't want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we talked about this over the weekend. And that's part of the thing that I really was blown away. Why I wanted to talk to you, because, you came back from that experience and you looked at what we had done, and then you were like, wait a minute, who's the enemy here, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, to clarify that, the brainwashing works to a certain extent. So, we wantedly looked for these people and wanted to kill them and loved the shit out of it when you finally ran into people and got the better of them and killed them. We were celebrating like hell, because that's what we wanted to do. That's what you were
trained to do, too. Yeah. And brainwashed to do.
Yeah, brainwashed to do. But, after a while, most of the time you're just sitting around, at camp. When you camp, you're bullshitting around and talking. And, eventually, marijuana is a psychedelic. Mm-hmm. So it kind of opens up your psyche. And you're looking around like, hey, these people are fighting for their country. We've invaded their country. They're just trying to keep the invaders out of their country. These are heroic people. These are freedom fighters. Mm-hmm. Why the fuck are we doing that?
You guys were talking about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and eventually we thought, we should join them, because the officers became our enemies because they were telling us to do shit that was getting us killed.
Right.
We wouldn't even want to do any of this. And, so...
This was part of your tour? So you're in your tour, you do a year there. So it's 8 months into this? You guys are sitting around, you come to this realization?
Probably 6 months, you wake up and you go, what the... These people are just defending their countries and we're messing them up. So, and they're really brave people.
Yeah.
To go up against us and all our armaments and we should join them, but that was really we couldn't figure out how to do that, and they would have just put us in prison anyway.
Yeah,
that wouldn't have worked, so we didn't do that. But the other part of it is that That's, a lack of morale, a lack of, we're not in the game anymore, what they put us here for. And so every chance we got, we would go AWOL. And when I'm talking about how do you go AWOL in the jungle, what's that mean? No. For instance, in my records it shows I'm supposed to wear glasses. I don't really have to wear glasses, but I tell the commanders or whatever is it, hey, I can't see a thing. Look at my records. I'm supposed to be wearing glasses. Oh, okay. Well, then we'll send you into the city, and you go to the hospital, and they'll fix you up with glasses. This is our scam. So, okay, you go in the front door of the hospital and you go right out the fucking back door. And we got it set up. We know people that live in the city, or, our people that are in the rear area, and they got girlfriends back there, and there's places to go to party. And there's a lot of great bars and great music. It's pretty safe. People get blown up sometimes, but it's pretty safe.
In Saigon?
Yeah, no, that wasn't Saigon. This was in Nha Trang, a secondary city,
Okay.
But a city, and pretty safe. And we don't carry weapons in town like that. It's that safe, So we party down, really party down good, It's like, it's a good time. Stay stoned 24/7 and drink Coca-Cola and buy things for the girlfriends and, have a lot of sex and whatever, have a good time. But eventually the military police would catch you, because they check papers and we look different. You could tell somebody, we're grunts. They call us grunts. And we don't have, we look kind of rough. Mm-hmm. And one thing, we have pride that our boots aren't spit polished. They're kind of white, which is stupid, a giveaway, So the military police check you, when they see you on the street, and check your papers. You don't have papers, you don't have pass. Okay, you're under arrest, and take you in and send you back where you're supposed to be.
Uh-huh.
So this went on and on. Every chance. There was a lot of ways to scam out of being somewhere. And, well, here, I'll tell you a story. So, all in all, I spent 2 months AWOL in country. 2 months.
Wow.
And they would just send you back, and it seemed like they weren't doing anything to you. Once a, investigator from the Army came out and talked to me out in the jungle, they come in with helicopters and they resupply and they go, okay, we got these things you say, you were AWOL, you were out, and I just go, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man. I have no idea what you're talking, I just play that,
Yeah.
And, so they don't get anywhere, and it's just for records anyway, because they want you in the jungle to do their work,
Right.
So, that's how it works, It's like they just keep records on you. And so we got caught once, me and this other guy, and we had pot, so they charged us with having pot, charged us with having illegal weapons, which had a knife, it was a really illegal weapon in Vietnam. And, yeah,
was it an Army issued knife?
Yeah, probably. It's like you're not supposed to be armed around here.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, okay, whatever. The Army is just ridiculous. And so they catch us, and then they bring us somewhere, and they say there's a helicopter coming for you guys, and they're going to take you back. Mm-hmm. And they just leave us there on the airstrip with whatever's going on. Nobody's looking at us because they don't know who we are. Just wait here for the air. Well, why would I do that? So we look at each other. Well, I guess we're free again. Let's go. Let's find the road, find a way back to the city. And so we did. And so we're AWOL again. And so they pick us up again. After a week or two, and so they go, oh, these are slippery motherfuckers. So
which you were.
Yeah, we were really slippery, because, but it's like, you guys are stupid. And, so they go, okay, let's lock these guys up. And then the helicopter comes. We'll tell the people in charge around here to put them on the helicopter. And so the helicopter comes and they put us on, and we go, oh, we're screwed now. But then they take us out to what's called a fire base. So there's teeny little bases all around Vietnam where they have cannons.
Okay.
Where they can shoot at different people. They get coordinates, and they're circled by some infantry guys in bunkers to protect the cannons. And it's pretty small, like an acre or something, or
Okay.
2 acres, whatever. But when we flew in there, we flew over the one highway that runs along the entire distance of South Vietnam. And so we're watching this shit, and so they drop us there. We can't get away now, they think, and so they say, okay, now we're going to leave you here, and then your another helicopter will come and pick you up, and they'll bring you where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we go, okay, and they gave us our rifles, and we'll wait here till they come. Okay, these guys can't get away now. Oh yeah. I go, my buddy, that was what, a mile or 2 away, and it goes straight up and down. If we go in that direction, we're going to hit the highway. So we crawled under the barbed wire that surrounded the place, and found the highway. And now, of course, everything outside of that fire base is free territory. There could be enemies anywhere along, and anywhere along that highway as well. They control that territory. We just have pockets of control. And so we go out on the road, and the first civilian truck that comes along, we stand in the road and commandeer the truck.
Okay, because you're armed.
Yeah. So we hold our guns on so the guy stops, and somehow we communicate to him that no matter what happens, do not stop this truck. We get up on the roof of the cab and sit up there and have this great trip back to the city.
Wow.
And we saw Viet Cong walking along the road, nonchalance with and then they'd jump and they'd see us. Holy shit! Well, we're gone, And the driver's driving fast because he's scared to shit,
And you're also you're not holding your gun up like you're going to shoot anybody either. You're just chilling.
Yeah.
Wow. So wait, so let me get this straight. You're in the back of the truck, or you're on top of the truck?
Top of the hood.
On top
not
of
the hood, but the top of the cab.
Like, wow, like the truck that we just rolled in here.
Yeah.
You would be sitting on top of the... Crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Was there something to hold on to?
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. Just with our guns up there on our laps. And having a great time, and we weren't, we're used to being scared and shit. It seemed all right.
Okay, I see. So I get it. So that was part of the thing, was that your threshold for fear was way higher than any normal person, because you'd spent 8 months there getting shot at.
Right.
Okay. Wow. So you're riding on the cab of the truck, passing the Viet Cong. The Viet Cong are like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But then you're gone too fast before they could shoot you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So eventually you get back to the city. And I don't know if that was the city we were looking for, but it was controlled territory. We got tanks faced out into that road.
Yeah.
Guarding, letting nobody through, of course. They checked the guy with his truck, he's delivering something. And they go, what the fuck are you guys doing? And, we got separated from our unit. Now, these guys doing that are just like us.
Right.
So they're not really worried about who you really are.
They're not trying to bust you.
No.
They're just like, whatever, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can pass. Yeah. And, I don't remember what we did with our weapons, but you're not supposed to have weapons in the city. Somehow we got rid of our weapons. It's like, and then eventually get back to the city. Party down some more until we get busted again,
Wow.
And so in the end, I had 2 months AWOL like that in country. And when I did my whole year, that's what they want, to use you up to see if you get, do your work, killing
and
people. Survive, which, a lot didn't. But I got through, and when I got, I was elated, like, I did it, I'm out of here. And go to headquarters, and they pull out these papers, and they go, you ain't going nowhere, man. You got fucking court-martial to do. And I'm like, oh, shit, that's right. They got records on this shit. I mean, this is fucking hilarious. Actually, it's a great comedy skit. So I'm like, oh, okay. So they put me through a trial. It's no trial. There's several officers there. We got these records here that you weren't here, and basically you're guilty. Of course you're guilty. So you got to go to prison now for 5 years, and and then we take away your rank, bust you down to the lowest denominator, and any pay you're going to get, you're going to have to give back to us. So you're screwed, and you're going to go to prison. And so, but then there was an option. You could appeal your sentence to a general, and the general could decide, in the end. And we had to wait 2 months to see the general.
So when you say that, so you opted obviously to appeal it. When you opt to appeal it, then you just stay somewhere in the city?
Yeah.
Do they give you are you in jail during that time? Or
It's crazy, because then what you got to do, you're in a rear area where this is. It's not really in the city at all. It's a big fire base, basically,
Okay.
or what like that, a headquarters, and so the general's not there all the time, probably, and so it took 2 months before he could get around to seeing us. There was a group of us, but we had to be on the bunkers and pull guard on the bunkers day and night.
So now you're back with the gun.
Yeah, sitting on a bunker,
aiming at people, and
waiting for people, make sure nobody comes in. So you just sit there, and nothing's happened. They usually don't attack something like that big,
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so, it's like just biding our time and getting stoned 24/7. And this is a funny story, though, because, so, we're waiting every day. It's like, when are they going to do this? But basically, we're safe. It's a lot safer than being out in the jungle.
Right.
So it's actually a good deal. They're using up my time that I'm, I got 2 years I'm supposed to serve.
Oh, I see. Wow. Okay. So you got to the end of the year. You're about to ship out.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, you got to sit here. So now you're there's 2 months more, which counts towards your 2 years that your commitment is.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that's
the
actually,
clock is always ticking.
Turns out to be a good deal.
Yeah. And so, okay, somebody comes, the general's going to see you guys now. Okay, so we go and see him, and I go in front of him. And by the way, one of our guys at that time was addicted to morphine, or opium. That's how the heroin wasn't really heroin; it was more opium, so it was sticky black stuff. And he's totally addicted to opiate, and so he had to go get his fix. And so he was gone to go get his fix, and too bad. This is the day you get your chance to see the general. But then he got back in time. And by the way, so there in the building where the general was, there's it's boarded, but there's screens between the boards for ventilation. So we would sneak up and listen to what the general said to these other people.
Oh, wow. Wow. Really?
So it gave us an up, okay, I better say this and whatever.
I see.
And, so we could rehearse. It was,
wow,
this
doing
is
research.
Yeah, I mean, this is,
man,
you
were wily. You were wily.
Yeah, but this is like
bad soldier.
Military intelligence, let me tell you. So I get my chance up there, and he's going, okay, soldier, you got this. We got this, you were charged with this and found guilty of AWOL. And what do you have to say? And I go, well, yeah, I was AWOL, of course. That was the right thing to say, I'm guilty, But, and he didn't ask, I don't think he even asked for why were you doing that. It's, just the way it was, and he looks at my paperwork, he goes through it, and he goes, well, yeah, actually, I got a couple of medals, for heroism or whatever, doing a good job.
Do you mind sharing with us what medals you received?
I don't really remember. I threw those away in protest afterward thing,
Okay.
But I did get accommodations.
Like a Silver Star or
something like that, And basically the big one was for one time we got, I'll get in a little bit of heavy shit. So, if you got sensitive ears here, back off, Yeah. So I'm sure that one of the awards was about this. 22 of us were guarding a fire base. Where they got some cannons in there. They had a little tank in there.
Okay.
And we were guarding that. We got dug in the ground bunkers that we could hide in, and little trenches we could go between bunkers. And they told us that, hey, we found information, they're going to attack you, you know. And we go, yeah, well, we expect to be, you know, attacked at any time anyway.
They radio in and tell you this?
No, the information just comes in when we have meetings, and they go, you know, they caught guys with plans for this place.
I see. Okay.
And actually, we saw outside the wires Vietnamese coming up, selling us pot and stuff, and they were taking notes. And we, you know, pointed our guns at them and stop that, you know. I mean,
right.
They're sitting there taking notes of our positions, you know. So it's, you know, they pass them on to the, you know, I mean, basically everybody's our enemy, but. You know,
right?
So
you're the invaders.
Yeah, and so yeah, they had all the information of who we were, where we were, how many we were, et cetera, and they decided we're going to wipe these guys out. So they came one night with over 500 guys.
Wow!
And attacked us, and it was like, you know, all of a sudden it was like the 4th of July. The whole thing lit up, man. There was so much shit flying. It was fucking unbelievable. You know, and the noise was, you know, you couldn't hear to talk, you yell at each other. You know, of course, we're totally stoned and this, oh my God, you know. So it's on, it's fully on. And there's, you know, in front of us, we have barbed wire strings so they can't get at us, you know, circles of barbed wire, you know. And we'd shoot up flares, and the flare would come down on a little parachute, and you could see groups of people, you know, throngs of people out there trying to get it, all of them with guns shooting, you know, our way, and we would just poke our heads up over the bunker and shoot them all down.
Wow.
You know, and every time we put up a flare, there was a whole bunch more of them there, and so this shit went on all fucking night long. And I mean, I could hear those people crying out there. You know, and their officers were probably pushing them in towards us, trying to, you know, but you could hear the screams of people being killed and, you know, slaughtered out there, and it just went on and on. The guy on the bunker next to me got up on top of his bunker, totally exposed himself with a machine gun on his hips, and just mowed these people down, you know. They just kept coming and coming and coming. It's like, fuck, you know. And you know, meanwhile we're ducking down below so they couldn't hit us, and we're smoking joints down there. Unbelievably, you know.
Right. Which also, I mean, you mentioned like part of the thing about smoking pot. I mean, people are going to have judgments because people do, but part of it for you was like to numb you to all of the horror.
So we're numbing out the
Like
fear.
somehow it was that actually made it somehow bearable that you were in the situation doing what you were doing anyway. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
And, you know, so this you know, this is the, you know, pretty much the worst situation I got into, and so went all night long, and then when the sun came up, and by the way, we had there was other fire bases around us, and so they would shoot air bursts, so the artillery around coming over our positions. We had a roof kind of sandbags. So hit incoming rounds, and they would explode up in the air, their air bursts, and so all the fragmentation would cover everybody on the ground. And, you know, they blew up the tank right straight up for the beginning that was in our position because it was exposed.
The Viet Cong did?
Yeah. They had, you know, rockets. And so by morning, some helicopters came and mowed down the rest of them that were still out there.
Wow.
And so then, you know, it was all done. And, you know, the Vietnamese, Viet Cong, they're really good. Usually you don't see even the people you kill because they drag them all away. You know, and usually you don't find them if there's a battle. They always pull the bodies away. So
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So we went out there
because they respect their dead and their.
Well, yeah, they're not going to leave them. We wouldn't leave ours either.
Right.
So you know, we went out there, and there were still quite a few dead people out there. You know, totally, and the ground was just slick with blood, and you could have opened a shoe store for all the shoes of people that we shot out of their shoes. But most of them, you know, they got most of them out there, and there were, you know, like 30 some dead bodies laying around out there. You know, we took their were the AK-47s, which is a lot better gun than an M16. And he just shot him some more, and they told us, cut that shit out, and then so, we reorganized and stuff, and amazing. None of our guys got killed. Wow. 22 guys, nobody got killed.
Really?
And nobody got seriously wounded either.
But they're shooting at you the whole time, right?
Yeah, but we're underground.
They're shooting at you. The neighboring fire bases are dropping, what did you call it?
Air bursts, which
don't fall on you because you have a ceiling, but they fall everywhere else on these other guys.
Right.
And are the air bursts, are they like shrapnel?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're shooting at you like crazy. They were able to blow up the tank, but they didn't get any of you.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, amazing. All this between us and them was a barbed wire. And they were crawling under the barbed wire with what's called a satchel charge to stick in the bunker and blow us.
Yeah.
But we could see them, and we'd shoot them. And so that's where some of the bodies were left, stuck in the wires and stuff. And, so like, I mean, we're just like, we're not really in shock, but it was like, wow, we beat these fuckers, we did it, And so after several days...
You're not really in shock?
No.
I would be in shock.
No, we're just like, that was a bitch, but we won.
Yeah.
And, so we go back to life as usual, and we give word to the townspeople. We were right next to a town, like a couple blocks away from the town. And of course, everybody in that town is against us.
Right.
Even though they'd come and be nice and sell us pot. But, so, we give word to them guys in the town, you guys need to come and pick up these dead people. They must be somebody, or whatever. Take these dead people out of our place, and, because they were stinking after a while.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so they didn't come because they don't want to be implicated.
Yeah.
And, so the sergeant, after you go, okay, what are we going to do? All right, let's get a big flatbed truck. And they're all stiff in weird positions and stuff, Stack them up in the truck and let's bring them to town. Bring them to the fucking marketplace and throw these fuckers out like cordwood onto the ground in front of all these people.
Wow. That's savage.
Totally savage. And, this is really fucking hard for me because I always thought they looked at us with fear and hate. This is a fucking war crime to disrespect people like that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, but, some of us held guns on them and the other ones are throwing these bodies just like they're trash into the marketplace. How fucking outrageous, And,
it's just like, I'm just thinking about that. If somebody came into Grass Valley and just started dumping bodies on that street we were walking down today. It's just right in the town square.
Right.
Could you imagine what that would be like for all the people and all the trauma that would cause anybody witnessing that, and then how they feel about us being over there, and you're so numb that you're just like, okay, whatever, I'll just do it.
Yeah, it didn't bother us.
This is still earlier, probably in the first, before you had the realization, wait a minute, these are just freedom fighters.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, and this is an indication of how brave these people are, to fight for their country, that they all gave their lives. And but what I realized actually quite recently this year, I was doing some psychedelics and I revisited that, and that what they were looking at was they were looking at us like, what the fuck? Are these human beings doing this? Yeah. This is beyond the pale of what a human being can do. Mm-hmm. They're looking at us like we're some alien, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And then I saw myself in that light, And that's a horrible thing, to see. I was the one doing that. I was one that was so lowest form of humanity to do something like that,
Yeah.
And, so that's, really, that the whole thing, the end of it, when I come out of Vietnam, I put it all behind me. I didn't have PTSD. Not until 2012, until I started, through therapy, started working with the shit.
Oh, that's first of all, I just want to say, from my heart to yours, I'm so sorry that you had to have that experience, and that you were put in that situation. And then, you were under orders to do that too, right? It's not like your idea.
Right, yeah.
You're following orders even then.
Yeah. And
you're part of the machine.
Right.
And the people who are giving the orders are not doing the work, so they don't have to see what's happening.
Right, yeah.
So I just want to let you know I'm sorry that you had to do that in the name of your country.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
then in 2012, you're saying, so you were going through therapy and then all this stuff comes bubbling up. So is it safe to say, Vela, that you kind of, after the war, you just like locked that in a vault and kept it sealed?
Yeah. So, PTSD is like, psychologically speaking, it's a, what do you call it? Basically, it's a subset of your psyche. That you could push things away over there.
Yeah.
It's a complex. PTSD is or trauma, any trauma that people have that you get triggered. Mm-hmm. The trigger will push your psyche into that place, and now you're living in that kind of sub-psyche, a complex of your psyche that isn't integrated into the rest of your psyche. That's why I could put it away and not ever think of it, because it's over there. But then there would be triggers and shit that would push me in there.
It's like this part of yourself that you never dealt with that you tried to seal off.
Right.
But then sometimes something would happen that would trigger you, and that piece would just come up like completely unhealed.
Yeah.
When you were in that situation,
right.
You had to look at it again.
So when you hear of veterans being triggered, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
They can be normal a good part of the time, and then they get triggered and they go into this kind of psychotic mode or whatever, usually displayed by a lot of aggression and anger, because below the anger is sorrow
mm-hmm.
and grief.
Yeah.
And you don't generally get down to those levels of the psyche.
Right.
You just, most of the, vets are generally very angry people.
Okay, so let's spend a little bit of time there, and then we'll go back to 2012 and whatever happened to trigger you, because that's something that I think is profoundly valuable and interesting, and accurate. That first of all, you come out of this experience, there's tons of anger, and whenever you get triggered, that's what you experience, because you haven't dealt with the underlying sorrow and grief for what you have done and who you have been in those moments.
And guilt.
And by the way, you're not allowed to experience those feelings. You're not supposed to, because that's not hard. That's also part of the training, to get you desensitized to your actual emotions that you would have doing what you were doing, so that you could do it in the first place.
Right.
Killing people is not natural.
Yeah.
That's not something that I would do, right? Unless somebody comes in my house with a gun, or those rare circumstances where you're defending yourself. Here, that you're being trained, asked to go in and fight these people you don't even know, kill them, murder them. And so part of the equation, the brainwashing there, is like, don't cry, little bitch.
Yeah.
Right. And you're getting shamed for crying, and you're also or having any of those kind of emotions. And so something I talk about on this program a lot, and I just firmly believe, is that what is missing so profoundly is grieving.
Absolutely.
Like we need to have a global grieving day. In a previous podcast with my friends David and Ron, in the episode that I did on Israel, was like that we need to have a global day of grieving, where we grieve all these atrocities that we've committed.
Mm-hmm.
And so here you're pointing to the actual reality for you as a veteran. Now, in 2012, you're going through therapy, you're doing something, all this stuff is coming up, and you're realizing all the anger that's there, and then underneath it, there's the sorrow and the grief.
Right.
And so let me ask you this: was it? So you get out in 71?
It was probably 76, 69, 71, 72, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then you just shut this whole part of yourself down.
Right. And I never walked around with a veteran's hat. I didn't claim to be a veteran. I didn't care. I didn't want people to know I was a veteran.
I see. Okay.
There's a lot of guilt there.
Wow. Okay.
I lived up until, 72 to then very functional.
Uh-huh.
Except, I went through several marriages. I think my wives would not say I was too functional. A lot of anger,
I see. Right.
And
but seemingly from the outside, you were functional.
I ran a business and shit. I went to college. It seemed, there's a kind of rough dude, angry a lot, but not. I was functional.
Right.
But when I started looking at this shit, I got dysfunctional. It turned my world upside down.
This was in 2012.
Yeah.
Why did you start looking at it?
Oh, you know why I started looking at it? Because actually, I got hooked up with Dr. Edward Tick, whose organization was called Soldier's Heart Incorporated, and he worked with veterans. And I saw him at Robert Bly's Minnesota Men's Conference, and I had been back to Vietnam already by myself. And he said, well, one of the things he does is he works with veterans in the therapeutic situations and group therapy, et cetera. And he says one of the things he does is take ex-military back to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
He'll take a group back, half a dozen guys, and visit the sites of where you had your fights,
Wow. Go back to the scene of the battle.
Yeah, go back to the scene. And so that's one thing he did. And he goes...
Did he do that with you?
Yeah. So he said, do you want to go?
Did?
Yeah. He said, you want to go back? And I go,
amazing.
Fuck yeah. Because actually, now here's a very strange, for many people, thing. And this is actually the heart of my PTSD, is that when you fight people, when you share blood with your enemy, that is one of the most intimate things that can ever happen in your life. And even more intimate than any great sex you've had.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This gets down to soul level of existence.
Yeah.
Life and death.
Uh-huh.
You're dealing death to other people. You're like a god to take lives. And like I said, I respected these people, and I was killing them. But I got to love the Vietnamese. And this is what I'm saying, is that level of intimacy creates a love for the very people that you were your enemy. And I didn't really understand and feel that, or it was just a feeling, a longing in my heart for the Vietnamese people that I want to, because there's a part of me that was now forever disassociated from this mass of humanity, because they had become my enemy, and I had greatly offended those people. But actually, it turns out I loved them. I learned to love them, and my heart was just always aching to go back to Vietnam. And so I did, by myself. And let me tell you this wonderful experience I had.
Yeah, please. When was this that you took your trip back to Vietnam?
It was some time in the 90s.
Okay.
So, for a long time, we definitely could not go to Vietnam. It was locked down,
Yeah.
And then they said, well, all right, we're good here. And we even, people can come as tourists or whatever. And even ex-military can come back here if you want to. And I want to make reconciliation with I want to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided, first chance I got, I went back. And I figured, well, fuck, they're going to probably kill me. going to be so mad at us and hate us. But I don't know what gave me the courage to do that. But I had to make it right. I didn't know that I really loved them so much, but that aching in my heart, I just need to do something about it,
Mm-hmm.
And so I went back on my own, and it was pretty scary, when you see people in the North Vietnamese with their uniforms, when you're in the army in the jungle, if you see the fucking North Vietnamese, man, you're scared because those are good soldiers. They're better than Viet Cong. When you see that uniform, it's like, oh my God, we're in for it now. So right away, those are the people at the airport greeting us like, ugh.
Oh my God, same uniforms.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're immediately flashbacked
Yeah.
to the battle that you were in before.
And so I used to have a Vietnamese girlfriend in the States. And, one of my ex-wives. And, the thing is, I was trying to resolve things through her, which was, putting away too much on her. So it didn't, after 6 years, we broke it up. I had a bad breakup. But you were still talking, and so she hooked me up with her brother in Saigon.
Really?
Yeah, and gave me things to bring to that family.
And you were about the same age, you and this lady?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was about the same age as you.
Yeah. She was a little younger, but he was he was on the side of South Vietnamese, and he had to go to prison for them, a re-education camp. But he had a beautiful family there now in South Vietnam, and they greeted me at the airport, and they treat me like, and everybody else. All the Vietnamese treated me like a fucking rock star.
Wow.
They all wanted to be by me and love me. And the Vietnamese love Americans.
Huh.
They're not mad at us. It's like, what? Weird. Really?
That's so weird.
Yeah. You would think, but no. I can explain that a little bit because actually when I went with Edward Tick, we got to go to North Vietnam and meet the top runners, the people like the president of the country and his entourage.
Okay.
It's a group like the Politburo or whatever. And one of our guys with us was at this battle of Khe Sanh, where they threw thousands of their people at us and could not overrun that place. That general who ran that operation just kept pushing his soldiers on, and we killed thousands. Mm-hmm. And, that's a great loss for him. That was the premier of Vietnam we were talking to.
Wow. That was this guy.
That was him.
He was the general behind the battle of Khe Sanh.
And one of the guys was with us was at Khe Sanh.
Wow.
And they realized each other there. And the Vietnamese guy came and gave him a big hug. Loving hug. And our guy was like, aren't you mad? Aren't you, I was. And he goes, look, you have to realize a war happened. We both experienced the war. You didn't decide to do that. You were directed by your commander, or by people, you were drafted and sent over there. That wasn't your intention. We experienced war together. And we both know that. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. Mm-hmm. We're good. And it was like, that was, that kind of thing that most Americans can't conceive, that you could be good with your enemy and just say that was something that happened to us and we experienced it together. And that's where the love comes in.
Yeah.
So back to the first time I went back. This is an amazing story. So I, from go, after I got back from Vietnam, to control myself, because I had a really big tendency for violence. I knew that I was on the edge of, my anger. I was going to hurt somebody, Mm-hmm. And so I got hooked up with Zen master, and I was practicing Zen.
Oh, me too. I'm into that. That's where Ado comes from.
Yeah,
That's
and
nice.
so
Or my name.
basically, I sat in front of a wall for many hours just to make sure I could control myself and not hurt anybody else. I never have been violent with anybody since.
When was that?
Soon after I got back from Vietnam.
Oh, so soon after your first trip in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. After the war, when I got back, I knew I needed to get myself under control. And so I found a Zen master and studied Buddhism and sat.
In the 70s, in 72. Okay, got it. Yeah.
And I've had a deep meditation practice ever since.
No wonder I like you so much.
Yeah, so, meditation has just saved me,
Mm-hmm.
And, it wasn't like I was trying to find enlightenment. It was just like, I'm going to hurt somebody here, I got to tamper this shit down. So just look at that wall and breathe. That's it. And had a good teacher,
Yeah.
So anyways, I have a long time practice, and also went to India and studied with masters, and I got deep down into myself, and so on the airplane going to Vietnam the first time, I met a Vietnamese guy, and he said, "You got to go to this wedding with me," and I go, "Okay, yeah, let's do that," and so I was living with this other Vietnamese family, my ex's family, and they just loved me. They took me in as a brother. I became part of their family.
Wow.
Straight up. This big family, and I was the star. I was like, they just loved me, and but this wedding was way down the river, down the Mekong Delta, down in the south. And so I told them this I was doing. They didn't like that I was going to do that. They don't know this guy. Is he going to take care of me or what? They were worried, because they were responsible for me. They felt,
Oh, I see. So this was a different friend of yours that was like, "Hey, man, I want to take you." To
Yeah,
this
I met him on the airplane.
And the
there.
family was like, "Oh," and the family was like, "No, man, you should not go. That sounds creepy."
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I said, "No, I'm going."
They were trying to protect you.
Yeah.
And
so he came, and we got bags going, and we're getting ready to go. And here comes the guy's sister living in the house with us, 20-some-year-old, and her girlfriend with bags. And they go, "We're going with you." And I'm going, "What the fuck?" These are beautiful young women with these two guys. It's like, really? I didn't get it,
Yeah.
You're going with us?
Okay.
Yeah, let's go. So, okay, well, life's getting good, So we traveled several days down there, and my friend wanted to, he says, let's split off. Why am I in the room with you? We could do this, Let's each take one, and I go, brother, I know why she's here, because she's here to protect me. She's my sister, because I'm in that family.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Right.
So we did party. We went to karaoke bars, and we had a good time. But I didn't mess around.
Oh, that's good.
I knew better.
Good for you. You protected them.
Yeah.
They were protecting you.
Yeah.
You protected them, right?
Yeah, and it was really sweet.
Good for you.
But
for not being a predator.
This is getting mythological, because I'm sure there's a mythological story about this, And so we get into this town. But by the way, when we get into this town, it appears that the streets are paved in gold. The streets are all gold colored, and so immediately, we're here, and it's like, wow, what is this? Well, it was just little shrimps that are drying on the road, but it made the streets like, this is a mythological part of it, like I was stepping into paradise.
Yeah, Shangri-La.
Yeah. It was awesome, and so they had this wedding, which is just wonderful. It was a Catholic wedding, and beautiful, beautiful people with feasting and great ceremony and stuff, and really beautiful, beautiful young women, all around. It was like, wow, and and then they, after several days of that wedding situation, they said, well, let's go let's go visit Auntie out in the countryside. And so we set out and took a vehicle somewhere, and then we had to walk quite a ways, and walking on a dike between the rice paddies.
Okay.
And, that's when you're in the Army, that's one of the most dangerous places you can be, because you're absolutely exposed. And if people shoot at you, there's nowhere to hide except laying in the mud next to that dike, which is only a few feet high.
Yeah.
It's a very dangerous place to be, that you don't ever want to be exposed like that.
So did that trigger you?
Yeah, it didn't trigger me, but I was like walking in the midst of this group of Vietnamese people, and I was the only American in hundreds of miles. Because this is very early on that people could come there.
Yeah.
They wouldn't never go down that far south alone. But I was with all these Vietnamese people, and I thought, wow, look at this. I'm with these people. They've accepted me back, they've accepted, in the worst situation where this used to be the most dangerous, I'm the most held, And we got to Auntie's house.
That's so beautiful.
It was, I was tripping on it. Like, wow, I'm absolutely safe here, because they're taking care of me. And I was the rock star, They were bringing this American to see Auntie, and it's like, wow. And let me just flash back a little bit.
Okay. We'll come back to this.
Yeah, I just want to put context into this.
Okay.
Coming back from Vietnam, one of the reasons I didn't stand up as a veteran and stuff, every time I tried to talk about that with anybody, they didn't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would hear my story. And I realized that people in this country want to put that war behind them. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to hear the what's and the whys and any story about it. So you could not talk to people about it. And not that a lot of veterans wanted to, but there was no way you could ever express and talk about what happened. People were like, no, I don't want to hear it,
Also, people were in this country were spitting on veterans.
Yeah.
And so opposed to the war in the first place. Most
so
of the common people
I don't want to
like,
even know the people that I was a veteran.
So okay, so when you did try and talk about it, they're like, "Shut up, dude. We don't want to hear about this."
Don't go there.
Of all the reasons we hated the fact that there even was a war, and now you're a veteran, you participated in it. It's your fault, kind of thing.
Right.
So
and
you're
we
getting
lost
those vibes.
the fucking war. Besides,
and by the way, we lost the war. And by the way, the only way for you to heal, by the way, is to talk about your experience with people.
Yeah.
And then you're getting slam doors in front of your face constantly. So you can't even, there's no hope for transformation or reconciliation for you, because thank God you started meditating.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah. And so, the other part of it is, these people in society, that's why we were there to they say we were protecting them. Well, we were there to ensure that they could have their lifestyle, that they could go out shopping and do all the things that they can do, because we were supposedly keeping the wolf from the door.
You were protecting democracy. That was the whole context of the war.
Yeah,
to prevent communism from taking over.
Right. But
Southeast Asia.
But we didn't get any recognition for that. We just got dissed,
You got scorned.
Yeah. And so I never felt, what I wanted to say is, I never felt home here.
When you came back.
Yeah, I was not accepted back.
Jesus.
So this is not my home. These are not my people. And in my heart, the deepest love I have is for the Vietnamese people. And I didn't really cognize that, think that. Mm-hmm. But I felt it very, very deeply. And the rift in my heart that I had enemies in this world who are actually the ones that I love the most. This is a reality, And so back there, so we get to Auntie's house. By the way, I'm sparking with this young woman, and she's the most beautiful, beautiful young woman. Oh my God, And we're like sparking, even though we didn't speak each other's language. This was going on, and I was like, I'm so attracted to her, and she is to me, and it's like, So we get to the house, and it's just a one-room thatched hut kind of a thing, with a little curtain on one side and something over there, and everybody's exhausted and they want to go to sleep, and so they take a siesta, and so I say, I'm really off on my meditation. I haven't been able to meditate all these days. Is there somewhere I could go off and meditate? And the woman pulls this curtain, and there's an altar there with a cushion with Buddha. And she just said, here, okay. And the thing is, you should know that the Vietnamese are people that these indigenous culture that worship their elders. So what that means, elder worship, is on their altar are all the pictures and stuff of their elders. And it's like, if you know what Day of the Dead is, when the Mexican people are relating to the dead people, and bringing them back to life. Well, this is every day in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. They have actual communication with their dead every day. They're part of their life.
I see.
So you got to realize that this is a living shrine in front of me, where there's spirit of real people.
I get that.
Yeah. So I'm sitting in front of there, and I'm going to meditation, and I'm really needing this. And I really stopped. I was dropping deep, really fast. And they were playing a little transistor radio out by the people sleeping.
The people in the other, okay. Mm-hmm.
So of course it's Vietnamese music, and that's going on behind me, and some singing with it, with the songs that were coming up. And I drop down, and I start hearing English verse out of the music. They're singing in English, and it's like some kind of profound teaching. The lyrics are like profound teachings of some kind, and I'm like tracking this, and I go, wait, that can't be English, and then I come out of my meditation and listen, and I must have been falling asleep. No, that's not English, and so I just like put it out of my head, and I'm a pretty good meditator, I've been doing this for many years now. I drop down, and I let myself go down. I kind of ignore the radio, but it starts saying stuff in English again. And, what it is teachings. It's like I'm learning something. And then I turn into a Vietnamese man. And everything that man knew in his whole life, I was him. I knew everything of his life. And I wasn't me, I was him. And I just was exploring this consciousness, and experiencing this. And then, after some time of knowing his whole life, this old Vietnamese woman came through me, and I became her. And she went to her graves and visited the graves of her children killed in the war. And I felt her grief. And the connection that Vietnamese people have with their elders, their children, their families, is everything. That I never experienced that kind of unity in my family in the United States, that extended family bond. I never experienced that here in this country with my people. And, I experienced this so deeply, being this woman. And then one after another, many different people, young people, other people came through me, one after another. And it was like, and this, and I am this, and I am this. Look at this life, look at this life, look at this death, look at this. I experienced all of that. All what it was now I realize I didn't know, but it was the elders and the people that were killed in the war that became, everybody that dies becomes an elder. They were all coming through me, and I was knowing them, and I was coming home to my people directly. And I came back into myself, and I was sobbing, and it's like, I am home. For the first time in my life, I feel like I am home with my people. I must be a reincarnated Vietnamese or something, because this is home. I'm home.
Wow.
And it was like such a relief. My heart was healed, and I was crying and sobbing, like this joy, this ecstasy of finally getting home. And then I went back into meditation and just embraced this feeling and dropped in. And then I found myself in a very high place where I could see myself and see the situation. And I liken this to, if you ever seen the movie of The Last Temptation of Christ, was that he was tempted to be a normal person and have a wife and children. And I could see, I go, this woman, I know for sure I could marry that woman that I was falling in love with.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I know I could stay there now. I'm going to stay in Vietnam. I'm going to live there. I'm home. I'm not going back. And I just knew that was a fact, that that's it. I've arrived. And this voice came over the radio. And my hands were like this. And it said, let it go. Just let it go. And I listened, I opened my hands up. And the whole possibility of that reality dissipated. That, no, this is not a possibility anymore. That can't happen. And so I felt like I was home, now I lost everything. And then I cried. I sobbed because I lost what I thought I was home, and now it was gone. And it wasn't really, it was an illusion or something. And then the voice said, and because you were able to let that go, you will always be home with these people in your heart.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing.
And at this time, I can extend that to my brothers and sacred sons. I see that flame burning of love in my heart, and I see that flame burning in their hearts. And, I can see that in my family, that unity that I didn't before, I couldn't get there. It spreads to humanity. And that's the force of love, that unites us all. And that's what the Vietnamese people gave me. So I take that as my greatest blessing, that I went to war. And I got to understand the politics, I understand the whole thing, the reasons and everything, but the deep, deep reality of what war is, and what this horrible thing. It's like what it can come to, the most wonderful thing. It can come to realization of love with all people. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to me that, that horrific experience brought me, and, I know so many people that have never got there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anybody that's gotten there. Do you know anybody that's gotten there?
Well, there's a few.
Are there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's some people that know what love is and don't have enemies, and
But I mean, with your particular journey, like
no, I don't know any
Vietnam veterans.
I don't know any veterans that say they
Uh-huh.
have that kind of profound experience.
No.
So to me, going to war was a great blessing. And it opened me up to the full reality of life. That the base of life is love. But it also opened me up to why we were there and what we were doing, and all the political realities of that, and the political realities of this country and our imperialistic ways, and all that is one thing. Once you're awake, you see everything.
Once you're awake, you see everything. That seems like a great place to end part 1 of this interview with Vela Giri. Tune in next week for the conclusion. I would leave you with a couple of reflections, having just listened to the episode myself again for the 3rd time. Number 1, we're in a place now in history where we're really looking at the motivating forces behind our imperialistic ways around the globe. And certainly it's obvious that things like communism, which were super prevalent in the 1960s, and the fight against communism seemed like sort of a righteous cause. But now we're really looking deeper at the greed, at the horror, at the terror that actions like that cause. It can't be any more obvious than watching videos of what's happening in the Ukraine and Israel and Gaza. The horrors of war are very real for us now. The awakening, if you will, is happening because we are able to see with eyes, with awareness that we've never been able to see before in history. Instantaneously from across the globe, we can see. And the difference from my perspective now is not that we're waking up to the fact that greed exists and corruption exists and power corruption exists and will happen, but that we individually need to look for those forces in our own hearts and process and deal with those forces in our own hearts before they become manifest in the way of hurting other people, and certainly of hurting an entire group of people, like the Vietnamese. Also, regarding Vela's reflections about his meditation that he had over at Auntie's house, did Vela really connect with the ancestors that were on that altar before him in Vietnam? It is certainly possible. We don't know. Was it his imagination? Certainly, it could have been. I can say from personal experience, during deep meditations and during deep meditative experiences, visions do come. And those visions are always extremely visceral, and they always have something to teach. And it is a lesson that I am ready and wanting to learn. And really, it doesn't matter what your belief structure around that is. The importance is to really consider that he had an experience where he really actually saw through the eyes of his quote-unquote enemy. And he really communed with them. And he really had deep, deep compassion and love for them. And that's what he came away with from this experience. And hopefully that's what you come away with from this experience as well, of listening. One final announcement. I've been working really hard on Lunacy community, and I really want to invite you to go check it out. It's still in the infancy stage, but we've got all the previous podcast episodes up. There's a couple of great articles in there, and there will be ways for you to connect directly to my guests and their offerings. And it's really a space in which we can collectively and individually create transformation for each other by posting comments, by posting articles, by creating ideas, by fomenting discussion, by really tackling the ideas of what it means to live with a love operating system and how that looks in the world with fierce courage and fierce love and fierce compassion. So I really want to invite you to go to lunacycommunity.com. Become a lunatic. Create your own profile. Make your first post. It's free. It's beautiful. I'm really excited about it. It would mean a lot to me. It's really in line with my vision of creating harmony within ourselves, within our community, and with planet Earth. You know what I mean? 2024, you want to make Jeff happy? Become a lunatic, all right? Just do it. You know what I mean? See what happens. It's going to be great. Promise. Tune in next week for the conclusion of the Vela Giri episode. And I wish you much love, much happiness, and great reinvention in this January of 2024. See you next week.